Most of my energy is in this regard is directed around the idea of my current work. And like everybody else, there are elements of my work that I just love, and there are elements that I don't think there are any elements that I hate, but which I'm fortunate in that regard. There are elements that I could do without. But by and large, I'm not unhappy with what I'm doing now. But the overarching interest that I have in this podcast number 1 initiative is this idea of a model and changing it. It's easy to imagine remodeling a house, something external. It's easy to imagine taking a technical process that's rife with elements of disk drive contention and business problems and redesigning that, recasting in a completely new model. It would be easy to maybe imagine designing a new cover for a lawnmower, something, but those are all external things. And my question, as I walked yesterday, was, how do you do that internally? How do you make the distinctions within your own existence in such a way that, as we're told, they will manifest themselves outwardly, which I happen to believe is true? What's the critical path to make that happen? Which, that's really at the root of this initial podcast. So as I looked at the existing model, I've got some notes here that I made based on the 10 or 12 words that I recovered. I modeled my workday, which, I get up at a certain time, I do certain things routinely every morning, hit the gym, come back home, and I'm generally at work around anywhere from 8 to 8:30, sometimes 9 at the outside. And then the actual workday starts, and I find that there are variances in that that are related to the degree of interest of the particular topic I may be engaged with. In other words, if I'm deeply engaged in something that requires focus, something that requires considerable thought, I like programming in that regard, and I like analysis in that regard, then I'm able to move very quickly, more or less into high gear, and I can stay in that spot for 9 to 10 hours easily. Toward the end of the day, I know I'm less effective than I was at the beginning, and around 5 or 6, I find that it's time to start shutting things down, but my thought processes may extend well into the evening, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's not like I don't feel tired from that. On the other hand, there are certain days when you're not engaged that way, when your tasks at hand may be something a little bit less elegant than or exotic than you would like to be spending your time on, but they're necessary nonetheless. And the clock seems like it's got super glue on it or something, like it says duct tape, or it doesn't seem to move. And lunchtime takes 2.5 days, it feels like. In my whole working life, though, I recall something happening early on when I was in my late 20s, and a wiser person who I don't remember at the moment anyway, advised me to look at work and take it in balance. In other words, there's going to be times when things are going to be heads down and you're going to be moving very fast and very focused. And then there's going to be other times when it won't be that way at all, and your energy is going to wax and wane. I'm glad I got that advice, and I believe that has held true, at least in my own experience. So I look at this where I am now, and it seems to fit together with that earlier idea. Either way, in the course of that day, whether it's in the high-focused, high-energy mode or in the loosely focused, kind of scattered energy mode, I like work in either regard, and I'm glad I have the idea of balance. And the one thing that I do is I avail myself of the luxury of stepping away. I guess you could call it taking a break every once in a while. And I think that's important. So this is my current model that I'm talking about now, on the way to determining the future model. At the end of the day, to continue the current model, I'm able to spend some time. I enjoy cooking dinner. I can take a little bit of television, about an hour's worth has become my limit, really. And then this other creative urge kicks in, and with my musical background and with some Photoshop skills and elementary graphic skills anyway, those all seem to start beckoning me, and it's almost like, I want to say the other side of a coin, but it is the same creative drive that engages when I'm at work, except it's directed in a completely different way. So this makes me wonder sometimes,